Rhythm. I'm with WCI Consulting. We are today covering auditing your business objects usage. Auditing your business objects usage is always a key point for any business objects deployment, as you can see the amount of usage that's going on, the amount of concurrent license you're actually using, and where potentially a drain or of system resources would be if a number of reports are running or not in use any longer but still being put out there. Up there right now we have our WCI Consulting mission statement. WCI has been around since 1998. We have progressed with business objects and a number of the other business intelligence tools, and we are located here in Dallas, Texas. We have also an office in Vancouver, in Philadelphia, and Houston as well. If you ever have any questions about anything regarding your business intelligence deployment, feel free to contact us. We have a lot of exciting new ideas and concepts coming up in the future. So if you'd like some insight on that, please feel free to contact us. With that being said, I'm going to turn it over to Neil Dave, and as he goes over auditing your business objects usage.
Thanks, Trent. So what Trent talked about there a second ago is the purpose of today's meeting is to talk a little bit about the auditing database and how it captures information within your business objects portal. So to give you a brief definition of what the auditing database does, Business Objects provides insight into your system by recording web activity and allows you to inspect and monitor details within your business objects environment. Auditing allows you to keep a record of significant events on your business object servers. This information records a picture of what information is being accessed, how it's being accessed, and who's looking at it. So as an example, if you have users that are creating reports within the system, and if a report takes a long time to run, and at some point it's bogging down your servers, you can capture what report that's happening for, who created the report, and then you can go about troubleshooting that specific report. Another example of auditing, if a report was deleted within your public folders, you could identify who deleted that report and at what time they did that. So the question is, how do we set those things up? Well, on my screen right now, you see the CCM, or the Central Configuration Manager. What this is when you install business objects into your server, there's an option that allows you to create a CMS, or Central Management Server. Within that screen, there's the Central Management Server, and there's also the Auditing Database. Now, you have the ability or the option to just create the CMS database, or and then you can create that at that time, and then later on at some other point, you can create the Auditing Database. Or you have the option of creating both the CMS and the Auditing Database. And so if you wanted to create the Auditing Database, what you would do is your database would run against either a SQL Server database, an Oracle database, a DB2 database, a Sybase, or MySQL. MySQL database is the default BO server database that gets installed for your business objects auditing database. So if you didn't have a database, you can just select the MySQL database, and it'll create a auditing database for you. So in order for you to set that up, once you're in the CCM manager, or the CCM, you would after the install is completed, you can right-click on your Server Intelligence Agent and go to Properties. And under the Configuration tab here, what you're going to see is a screen that shows you your CMS system database configuration. And so in here, you have your BO, the name of our CMS in this example is called the BO Current CMS. And then below here is the Auditing Database configuration. And so in here, I mentioned earlier that you can create the Auditing Database later. Here's what you would do in order to do that. You would have to stop your SIA agent, right-click, and go to Properties, and go to Configuration, and then click on the Specify button, and then identify those 5 database sources I mentioned earlier: SQL Server, Oracle, DB2, Sybase, and MySQL. Once you identify that, then you can create the auditing database. So like I said, you can create it once you run the install, or you can configure it at a later point. All right? So once that's installed on your machine, on your server, excuse me. What it does is it's going to create a universe called the activity universe. Now, the activity universe is just a universe that allows you to capture all this information. So you're going to have something like a predefined canned reports that comes in with your install, and then you also have the ability to build your ad hoc reports based off this universe or this activity universe. And so the activity universe, it's important to keep in mind, it captures activity based on what a user has done. So obviously, if you just created a brand new install and try to run the reports off the activity universe, it's not going to work because there's no activity to capture as of right now. But if you wanted to turn this on after a month later, it will, I'm sorry, what I would recommend is I would turn it on when you first install it to start capturing activity. So maybe a month later, you would have a good amount of data to capture. So to give you a look at what the data or what the universe looks like, what you would do is go to File, Import, and typically the universe is going to be placed, the activity universe will be placed under your root folder, and like I said, it's called Activity. And what it's going to do is it's going to bring up universe with all the database schema that's been pre-built by BusinessObjects. So here you have your database schema with your joins and your tables, and then on the left side you have your objects, and with your classes in them. So if I expand this first class called Actions, here are the list of actions or pre-canned actions that go along with the with this activity universe. And you can quickly scroll through these and look at the different objects in here. And remember, these objects are going to be used to build your ad hoc reports based off this activity universe. So I'm just scrolling through a couple of these real quick for you to give you an understanding. Okay. So again, these are the objects that you're going to build off. You're going to build off your to build reports off of when you want to create your ad hoc reports. Okay, so now that you've got your universe installed, the next thing you have to do is you have to capture the specific auditing things that you want to look at. So what that means is if I go into the CMC or the Central Management Console, once I've logged into here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to look into the servers category, and under the servers category, I'm going to see a list of servers that belong with my BusinessObjects install. So in here, what I'm going to do is there's certain servers that you should turn on to capture auditing, and the best way to identify those is here on the right side. You see a list of 33 servers. Excuse me. The best way to capture the right information is I recommend that you would go into the service categories and then go to core services. So this identifies the core services within your BO environment to ensure that you capture the right auditing information. So if you want to turn on, so now that you've got the activity universe built, you've got to turn on auditing. And so what I mentioned earlier about once you first install BusinessObjects, it's recommended that you turn on auditing right away so you can start capturing information. And so when you turn that on, the way you turn that on is you just right-click on the services and then go into Audit Events. What that's going to do is going to bring up another screen in here. And right here, you see that auditing is enabled. Once I turn that on, that means auditing is going to start. And then here, it's going to capture all these specific events. So concurrent logons, named users, if the login failed, user logoff. If a report was created, deleted, like I mentioned earlier, modified, if object rights were modified, so on and so forth. And so once you can capture those and hit save and close, and then you can start turning on the other ones in here. All right, so another one, I highly recommend you turn on the CMS, which is the brain of the BusinessObjects install. I would recommend if you're going to turn on auditing, turn on those events that we looked at. All right, so the next one would be like an auditing job server. So if I look at this one, what this is going to capture is when a report is scheduled, did the report fail or did it succeed? So if I'm only interested in seeing if the reports failed, then I would turn on this auditing to see that, okay, these reports were actually failed. Okay? Like, for example, the scheduling did not, if it said it failed, then it's failed for a specific reason. Another one would be destination delivery failed. This failed because the destination was not correct. It could be something like a invalid email address or invalid file location, as an example. So once you've selected those flags, hit Save and Close, and then you can continue to some of the other ones here. Like I mentioned, I would recommend turning on all these services as for auditing. Make sure you've got your core ones on to ensure that you capture accurate data. Okay? So the next thing I want to show you is once you've turned on your auditing events, what you can do now is you can start building reports within InfoView. All right? So what we can do here is I'm just going to log in real quick. And one thing I would mention is after you run the install and auditing is turned on, what it does is within InfoView, it's going to automatically create a set of canned reports, which is very nice for you just to run off of these reports that are already built for you. So you don't have to necessarily go in and build your own reports, but there is a set of reports that BusinessObjects provides to you. And so the way you would find those reports is under, once you've logged in, you go to Public Folders, and under Auditor, expand Auditor, and then click on this subfolder. And then on the right side, you're going to see a list of reports. And these object packages or these icons are for crystal reports. You can still run these reports in InfoView without an issue once you've got everything set up in here. When I scroll down here, I'm going to select the Web Intelligence reports, and these are exact same reports that are mentioned in the crystal reports that you would see up here when you scrolled up. All right. So in here it gives me a list of users or list of reports that I can take a look at. For example, this first one is average number of users logged in. Second one is average refresh time, sessions. If you scroll down here, document information detail, that's a good report to find out what's the report name, what folder it's located in, when it was last run, and so on and so forth. And here we've got, if you scroll down a little bit further, you'll see a list of other ones in here. So a good one here to look at is the most accessed documents. So in here under our comments, it tells you what are the 10 most viewed, edited, and refreshed documents in here. So if I look at this report, and I wanted to run this report, so what I'm going to do is hit refresh all. Okay, and it's going to ask me what type of reports I want to look at. Well, I'm going to select all three of these. The folder path is the root folder, so I want to capture all the information within the root folder, and then select a reporting date. In this case, I'm going to select beginning of last year, and the end date will be today's date. I'm going to run this query. All right. So what it does now is it brings back a list of, and here in a graphical view, it tells me the name of the date range right here, the document types, the folder path, and it also captures in graphical form the names of, on the left side you have the number of refreshes of the report, and then the actual names of the report right here that tells you the most accessed reports. And remember, these are the top 10 reports that have been run within the BO environment. So in here it tells you in graphical view, and then if you click on a different view here, it gives you the times it's been edited, the top 10 reports that have been edited right here, and how many times that's been. And then here by times read, how many times the report's been read. It gives you that information here. It gives you the name of the report right here, and then times it's been read based off that report. Okay? So it is kind of nice that you're able to view certain canned reports. Like I mentioned, there's a lot of reports in this auditing canned report folder. So you can definitely take the time to take a look at it and look at the ones that would best fit your company. So I did build one ad hoc report in here that I wanted to show you. And I mentioned earlier that once you've got this activity universe created, or once it's created off your install, you also have the ability to build your own reports. And that's what I did off in here. I created a report based off the activity universe. And what I'm trying to identify is the number, I'm trying to find out a list of reports that provides me the average runtime for each report. And where this would come in handy is that, for example, when I mentioned my example earlier about if your BO services are bogging down for any reason, you can identify a specific report that's currently running or building a runaway query. So you can find out what's the name of that report that's doing that and where that report's located and who's the last person running that report. And so you can go back and possibly troubleshoot that report. All right? And so what I did here is under Edit Query, what I did is I brought in the document type object, which identifies if this is a Crystal report, a Web Intelligence report, or a Desktop Intelligence report, the name of the report, the action name, in this case, will be document refresh. The last time when you click on the report and hit refresh, how long does that take to refresh the report? And then the action duration is how long it actually takes to run the report. And here's my filter. The action name is equal to documents refreshed. So that's what I'm trying to identify is how many, when I refresh the document, how long did it take in order for me to return data? All right, and under this action name, I'm just going to show you some list of values in here. It tells you all different types of action names. So it's not necessarily just document refresh. I set the value to document refresh. But here you have a lot of different options in here. You can take a look at last time the document was edited, document saved, job created, object deleted is the big one here. If you wanted to find out when a report was deleted, that's the one I would recommend for object deleted, is to bring that action name over, and it will capture if the object was deleted or not. All right? And so I'm going to hit Run Query here. And now it gives me a list of my action name, the document name, the type it is, and then the action duration in seconds. Now, just to give you a heads up, the action duration, it's going to return a number. Just identify those as seconds. They are not in minutes. Those are in seconds. Okay? Well, that's all I had for you guys. Trent, I'm going to hand it back to you.
Hey, Neil. We've got a question here. It says, when turning on the auditing for the individual servers, what recommendations do you have for the services to be audited?
Yeah, that's a great question. I recommend that you turn on the core services. Those 6 or 7 services that I mentioned earlier under the CMC within the service category, I would definitely turn those core services on. What that's going to do is that's going to capture your scheduling services, your CMS service, and then also your reporting services, like your Web Intelligence server and then your Desktop Intelligence services.
Great. And we have another question here. Where is the audit data stored?
The auditing data store is stored on the database. So when I mentioned earlier about the install, when you first run the install, you have the CMS database, and then you have an auditing database. So based off of, if you don't have a database created, BusinessObjects is automatically going to create a MySQL database for you, and then it's going to store it within that database. So the information will be stored on a database, depending on which one. If you've got a SQL Server database already configured, you can create your own auditing database and then have your audit within that install. You can also point to that newly created SQL Server database, and it will start writing information to that specific database.
And Neil, here's another one. Are there canned reports for concurrent users currently logged in or generally logged in at a given time?
Yes, absolutely. Within that canned report, I apologize, I had to scroll down a little bit there, but yes, there's a canned report in there that allows you to capture the number of concurrent users in there.
And Neil, that would allow someone to see where the peaks are, so they may schedule reports at different times, right?
Absolutely, absolutely.
And then, how did you turn on the activity universe?
Whenever you create once you've installed Business Objects with Auditing, it's automatically turned on. So once you checkbox the auditing database within the install, it automatically, once the install is completed, once you've logged into Designer, it automatically brings in that activity universe. And it's already installed within Business Objects, and it's under that root folder.
Okay, great. I think that's all the questions that we have right now, Neil. If there's any more, please send them to our email addresses up on the screen. And we'll wrap it up today. We know time is always urgent. And I just want to say thank you for joining WCI's Consulting's webinar. And please join us for the next one.